Well, I promised you earlier today that we'd have an opportunity to look at IT and how IT should be last and not first when we're redesigning organisations. One of the things I've noticed in my career is that IT continues to reinvent itself after each successive failure. If you want to take a look at our view of the kind of history and problems in IT, if you go to our e-learning site and you go to the library and you find an article called Dissolving a Dangerous Enthusiasm, it's kind of everything that we know about the history of IT, how expensive it is, and why 90% of it fails. Did you know that 90% of large-scale IT projects fail? That's a fact. They don't tell you that when they flog you their next one, do they? So, now our next presenter is a young man from Wales called Justin Watts. I met him a long time ago when he was a postgraduate student, and we are still working together and now in academia teaching a lot of this work through Buckingham University, and he's going to talk about the latest fad and IT, which is let's have digital services. So please welcome Justin Watts.
So this is what I'm going to talk to you about. So I'm going to give you a bit of context around our digital transformation in Lloyds, and I'm going to tell you about our method for transformation and basically why it needed to change, and I'll give you some examples about where we've been able to introduce some change to make it more effective, and give you a bit of a summary at the end and give you some takeaways if you're thinking about a digital focus on your business. LBG's third party, McKinsey & Company, advising on this transformation right in a recent publication. And I quote, "We estimate that digital transformation will put upward of 30% on the revenues of typical European banks in play. We also estimate that the banks can remove 20 to 25% of their cost by leveraging this digital shift to transform how they process and service. However, progress is slow." And they point to, "One of the reasons for the slower transformation in banking is that bank executives have tended to view digital transformation too narrowly, often as standalone front-end features such as mobile apps or online product comparison charts. Commonly lost in the mix are the accompanying changes to frontline tools, internal processes, data assets, staff capabilities needed to stitch everything together in a coherent front-to-back proposition." Now, this is probably the first time I've ever agreed with anything McKinsey have said. However, they point to a digitization of the process, not a fundamental redesign of the system. So what we're going to do now is have a look at how we in Lloyds are understanding if and how a digital transformation can improve the standalone front end as they describe, and the end and the front end and front to back proposition to the levels that they quote in the earlier statement of 30% revenue, 20 to 25% cost reduction. So, what's all this fintech about? Anybody heard the word fintech? Yeah, nodding. Hands up, who's heard the word fintech? Well, it's not as popular as I thought, but it's growing, so watch out. So, fintech refers to new solutions which demonstrate an incremental or radical, disruptive innovation development of applications, processes, products, or business models in the financial service industry. Sounds fantastic. Everybody would be interested in that, wouldn't they? But as John said, it might be a fad. Let's find out. This was our transformation method before we rocked up and said we might be able to help. So a stage called incubation, reimagining the target customer experience, into what we call design and pilot, and then into rolling and scale. And underpinning this transformation method, and this was 18 months ago, were things like zero-based design, blue sky thinking, imagination of the future, disruptive technologies, big push on agile delivery. Hands up again. Who's heard of agile and agile delivery? Who's doing it? How many people are doing it? Couple, good. So we said, well, actually, there's probably something missing in this method. So the two underpinning approaches are service design, which you might have heard of, and agile delivery. So service design, design end-to-end services according to the needs of customers and the competencies, capabilities of service providers, so that the service is user-friendly, competitive, and relevant to customers while being sustainable for the service provider. Seems sensible. Agile delivery. Requirements and solutions evolve through collaboration between self-organizing cross-functional teams. That makes sense because you know that the point we made up earlier that sometimes the cross-functionalization, especially when people from risk and compliance get involved, then things tend to break down. But the actual point of this, of having everyone together, trying to work on problems, great. You know, that's a sensible thing to do. It promotes adaptive planning, evolutionary development, early delivery, continuous improvement, and encourages rapid and flexible response to change. So, service design, let's go back to it. These are the things that get done right at the beginning of a service design implementation, and these are called personas. And personas, on the face of it, when you look at it, they are designed to help us understand the customers. Now, Patrick loves personas. Don't you, Patrick? He had to sit through this a lot when he was working in Lloyds. So let me just tell you what the definition of a persona is. Persona is a kind of mental model, an imaginary person. Personas are fictional. So this is what we think our customers look like from an internal view of the organization. The typical kind of marketing strategy stuff. How many people do this? Persona mapping. Anybody done this before? Just remember the words. Personas are fictional. They are imaginary people. Something else is required. Okay, so Agile Scrum helps us deliver customer-centric designs. Here's some of the definitions. Scrum is an iterative and incremental agile software development framework for managing product development. Okay, seems to make sense. These are some of the other things I've picked up in terms of the definitions. Scrum is a management and control process. Oh dear, we're starting to get into trouble. It cuts through complexity to focus on building software that meets the business need. That could be a problem. Product owners, this is a title that people in Scrum get given when they're in charge of the Scrum team. And basically what these product owners are responsible for is optimizing value by providing vision and ranking the product backlog, the things we need to work on. Now, you probably know as well as I do, if the product owner is responsible for defining value, then that might be a problem. So the way that the software is developed is not in the waterfall method, which costs us lots of money, and when we get to the end, the solution doesn't work. It actually releases software, like the picture of the skateboard and the scooter, in early iterations, so customers can test it and use it. The problem is, when you ask customers to test things in environments that we've seen it in, they all love it. Of course they do. The example of, if I give you one of these, it does all this, would you like it? Yes, tick the box, great, let's carry on, let's build it bigger. You know, we know that there's problems with customer research done in that way. One of the other things that's presented with Agile is this 3 sets of concentric circles. Build the right thing, build it fast, build things right. Which one of those concentric circles would you imagine is the most important? Sorry? Build it fast? No, wrong answer. Build the right thing. How do you know you're going to build the right thing? Something's missing. Something else required. Okay, now's the test question. What else is required? Sorry? Customers' views. Okay, yeah. But we got customer view and we got the persona. What else is missing? Facts. Yeah, which facts? How else could you term facts? There's lots of facts going about. They might not be true. I'm not going to move until I get the word I want. What do we need more of before we try to solve any problems? Sorry? Study. What? Study, yeah. What does study lead to? Yay! So this is where we are now. We've moved from this to actually trying to inject a bit of knowledge up front of the problems we're trying to solve. And here he is. It might be 66 years old, but it's still, well, absolutely relevant today. And there is no substitute for knowledge. Okay, so this is where we are now. We've injected a front-end piece on this, which is starting to make a bit of sense. So let's get some knowledge of the what and why. That would probably be a good idea at this point, because we spend a lot of money designing stuff. It might be a good idea if we understood what problems we're trying to solve. This is currently how we're structuring the program. So we're looking end-to-end across things like help me buy a home, help me set up my business banking services, help me borrow money for my business, so on and so forth. So this is the way we set the program up, and we're starting to get a little bit more knowledge now about how these things work from the customer perspective using Vanguard Method up front before we go anywhere near trying to design any kind of disruptive kind of technology or IT or anything else. So what does that look like? What happens without knowledge? You could spend a lot of time doing what we call the wrong thing right there. This is our mortgage calculator. There's some other things in the digital transformation of mortgages. So auto income verification, auto valuation manager, document upload, online agreement in principle. They all sound very plausible. So the questions we're starting to ask is, underpinning the Vanguard method in terms of single and double loop learning or stopping us doing the wrong thing right there, we would simply ask the question, why do we have to do all these things anyway? Has anybody asked? Why do we have to verify income? Surprisingly enough, we found out that nearly 70 to 80% of our customers who want a mortgage are already our customers. And you hear the phone call saying, you already know how much I earn. You've got it all on your system. You've got my bank account details. Have a look. So if the answer is yes, we still need to do it because it's the law at this particular time. Are these the best methods for doing it? Frequently, what we're trying to get the business to see is, what's it for? For what purpose? Why are we designing it? So what happens without knowledge? The total design must be anchored in the purpose from the customer perspective. This makes you design things as a system. This is the way I try to visualize it for people. Online agreement in principle, auto valuation manager, auto income verification. They're all pieces of a jigsaw puzzle, but we can't even remember what the picture was. Everyone's off doing stuff. And hopefully it's going to fit back together when we decide it's the right time to fit it back together. But we know from systems theory that if you're managing the parts taken separately, there's probably a good chance when you try and put it back together at the end it's not going to fit. So more on this later, where we're starting to actually get this design right, and where we think we can use technology to help us do a better job for customers. So, warning there. When we looked at our corporate pensions transformation program, we were in a better position because we had more knowledge. The reason why we had more knowledge is because we'd actually studied the system, the physical work system, and redesigned it to only do value work first. So these are our simple value steps in our help me set up a scheme, help me join corporate pensions. These are our value steps, and we've taken a lot of time in actually redesigning the system first. Physically, where people were taking demand in, reducing failure demand by a tremendous amount from something like 80% down to virtually nothing in terms of how we work the work from the customer perspective. So we'd worked out how to do the work first, how to reduce the waste, and how to only do value work from the customer's perspective. So important was the step that we'd done in this transformation was to do this first. And now we're in a position where, this is just a diagram to say how we kind of get it, starting to get it a bit more right. The top row is as a result of studying and understanding the business problems we're trying to solve through into proof of concept, into our prototypes, and then the little green circles are saying a decision to continue with purely business solution or to introduce technology. Then you see the arrows dropping down into what we call sprint planning, which is what Agile kind of brings in terms of rapid software development. It's helping us to solve the right things. It's helping us to pull value to the value work. It's helping us to do the value work in a better way. And that's where we're starting to work in a very collaborative manner with the people, with the brains around how to develop software and do the coding, but they're doing it for the right thing. They're building the right things because it's connected to the way that we're doing the value work from a customer's perspective. When you look or start to listen to best practice and what should be done from a digital perspective, then you start to hear things like this. So best practice is to increase mobile and digital activation. So what would happen in this system if we started pushing customers to use online, do you think? 11% of the demand is already customers saying, I can't use online, can't find, logged off, don't know what I'm doing. It's not working. What happens? What's going to happen to your cost? There you go. So best practice says, push people down the digital channel. Decrease your costs by making your mobile activation and increasing participation in mobile activation. It's probably better if we fixed it first. Paperless statements online, right? This is a favorite. So we've looked at the transactional demand. There's loads of people coming in and asking for statements. Quick, write it, code it, put it online. What's the real problem? I need a bank statement going back 3 months on edited paper with my address on it and stamped by the bank on every page to submit to immigration. I need it quickly as I have to get to work. If he was able to find his statement online, would he come back in the bank? Of course he would have, because we haven't solved the problem. We've just put the statement online. And we saw this over and over and over and over again in different situations when we asked the question, what problem is the customer really trying to solve? When you saw Acuff's quote there about actually it's the interactions that are important, that might sound quite technical and you might think, well, that's very theoretical. You must manage the interactions. It's really easy if you start with redesigning the system to do value work from a customer perspective. The left-hand side is our redesign. So we've managed to get hold of this and actually studied it with the people who do the work and the leaders. And we're now in our system with 4 value steps, which are understand me, recommend and proceed, make me an offer, and transfer the funds. And what we're learning is, as we take the demand into the new system, things like the auto-valuation manager works for XYZ situation. Auto-income verification only works for A, B, and C situation. So we can actually feed back into the team that the software they're building doesn't work and it needs to be changed. It does work for this situation, might not absorb the variety. Can you change some things so we can make it useful? Now, our key principle in this redesign is make sure the workflow is 100% clean. So we do not move past our first understand me piece until we've got everything we want for that customer, because we found over and over and over again in the study phase that unclean work was the reason why we were getting so much failure demand and end-to-end time was so long. The key is, what we've learned, IT might be useful. Once you've redesigned the system, then you pull IT to the value work to make it more effective. What we're also finding is, by asking the what matters question in this system is, give me the best rate. So even in our redesign, where the focus is on doing things more quickly, when we're asking the what matters question, only 50% of customers are actually going any further because we can't give them the rate that they want. So again, more learning, focusing on time, but actually we should be thinking about the kinds of products we're offering as well. There is potential, however, in the digital economy. Any change requires knowledge. You must study the what and why of the current system first, without a shadow of a doubt. You can design digital solutions if you study nominal value and what matters. You can, if you want to, plug a digital front end into the same system, but it won't change anything. Change requires a system-level intervention. What's the solution? For what purpose? You need to design against demand. It makes sense, over and over we're learning it makes sense, repeatedly, to work out to do value work and then pull IT to help you do the work, i.e. building the right thing. And the method by which you do things should always be subordinate to value work. And some things might never be digital. One last statement I want to read before we finish, and this is again from McKinsey published work. What they point to, why digital is not working as quickly as people would like it, is the most common hurdle to meeting digital priorities, executives say, is insufficient talent or leadership. Which tops a longer list of complex challenges. The companies that are succeeding at digital, our high performance, have a more active digital agenda than others and are more effective at attracting and retaining digital talent. And my words are, they're digging in the wrong place, and as John would say, it's a system, stupid. Thank you very much.